guys, it's Di, and today we're going to do a bit of a chatty vlog, and I think it's something that a lot of us are in this situation or getting ready to be in this situation. And today I wanted to talk a little bit more, in my own opinion, about the kids going back to school and what that's going to look like. So it is July now, it's mid-July here in Alabama, where we are currently living. And as I'm sure you all have heard in the news, there are certain states, especially ones in the South, that all happen to be having rising case numbers, our state being one of those. Now, we're not the worst off, but it's definitely going up. Bad enough that they have instituted a mask order in our area, and you know, we're pretty much at home all the time right now anyways. I'm still furloughed, Dan is working from home indefinitely, and all the kids' summer camps were canceled, so we were just inherently at home anyways. But looking ahead, we have to make a decision here very shortly about what we're gonna do for back to school. And I talked a little bit about this in some of my previous videos about our school system and all the school systems in our area actually releasing their plans for back to school. And I think a lot of areas are starting to do this. Some areas are putting out more detailed information than others. But for ours, it was a little bit more general, which makes you nervous as a parent. So for us specifically, we're being offered 2 tracks, either the traditional track or you just choose virtual right off the bat. And you have to stick with it for half of the year. So if you sign up for virtual at the beginning of the year, even if COVID magically disappears and it's no longer an issue by October, you're doing virtual for the rest of the semester. And I understand why they're doing that. It's for staffing issues and they have to get it to where people aren't just able to bounce back and forth. But as a parent, it's stressful to make the situation when you don't know what it's gonna look like a few months ahead and then trying to figure out what to do. So for the traditional track for us, it's traditional with the caveat, that's if things are going well. If things are not going well, for people that signed up for the traditional track, they still reserve the right to go to a staggered schedule and or actually put all those kids on virtual learning as well. The state of Alabama actually has a thing where all the different counties have a different color on them, and our county happens to have red on it right now, as a lot of our counties do, which just indicates over a certain percentage increase and sustained increase over the past 7 days. So the reason why I point that out is because they haven't been real clear, but from the way that they've indicated, what they are indicating is if we're still in the red when it's time for school to start, then we would actually not, even if you chose the traditional track, you still wouldn't be going back to the classroom. You would be either doing staggered with just a few days a week or virtual because cases are going up in our area. School starting is about a month away here. It does start pretty early, even though they did push the date back. It's like the middle of August when it starts here, as opposed to like when we lived up north, it was more after Labor Day. Here it's a little bit earlier. And we have about a week to make our decision with everything that we know. So it's really super stressful. It is, you know, it feels like there's no good situation. There's no good decision to make here, because I feel like there's positive and negatives to both of them. And you have to kind of weigh, you know, what kind of education you think they're going to get versus the likelihood of them getting sick. And so I have one child that I think could do very well in either virtual or in-class learning. It really doesn't matter. It's just really more of a social issue with her, you know, being around her friends and that sort of thing. And for the other one, she really needs to be in the classroom. She learns better in the classroom. Social is definitely a big thing for her as well, but she just learns better in the classroom. And I know that. So when this all started, we were really heavily leaning towards the traditional. But I will say, as a kind of aside to that, we were really kind of just thinking about their needs. But when I started sitting back and looking at just the sheer numbers of it, and also kind of extrapolating out over who all this affects, who all our decision affects, it's not only the teachers and their families, it's all the staff that are going to be inside the school, any substitute teachers they call in. And so, while yes, I think the risk for children is lower, I don't really think that you can bring that into this discussion because there's so many adults involved that have to be there to make school possible. We've really been mulling the past week or so trying to figure out what we're going to do, and we really started leaning towards the virtual side, which I never could have anticipated. It's not my first choice. I really do think that they both would be better off either socially and, especially for one of them, academically, learning in the classroom. But in the environment it is now, living someplace where cases are going up, the inherent risk to not just the kids but all the adults involved, it just feels like it's more responsible to take that step if we can. So they're supposed to be releasing more information in the next week or so, and we have got to make a decision. It's got to go one way or the other. And like I said, even if we chose traditional at this point, it could hit being August, our cases are still going up, and we could all end up being virtual anyways, and so all this mulling was for naught. But I feel like this is one of the, just most gut-wrenching like decisions I've ever had to make as a parent. Either way you go, there's really no great decision here because there's room for error either way. I mean, obviously, if you decide to send them traditional and they go into school and they get sick, then there's obviously a lot of regret there, and it could have been a different decision and mitigated by not sending them. And then on the flip side, if you choose virtual and it works out not so great for you, I mean, we really don't even know what it's going to look like yet. We do know it's supposed to be different than the blended learning at the end of last year, but we really don't have specifics. So if we get into it and it works horribly for us, there's regret there as well. So it's kind of weighing out all of those decisions, and every single family has to make the decision that's right for them specifically. But it's one of those like horrible things that I never envisioned I would have to be deciding as a parent, like whether or not it was safe to send my kids to a classroom. Like that, before being a parent, like that thought just really didn't think I would be in that situation. So it's a struggle, to say the least, and I'm sure a number of you are struggling with it as well. So first of all, you have to just make the decision that's right for yourself and your family. I kind of like that there are some school districts that are just flat out saying, like, this is what we're doing, everyone is doing it, because I feel like some districts are being set up for failure if they're putting teachers into the classroom and then all of a sudden they have a bunch of teachers that are out sick. Then that just compounds the problem, because then not only do you have a lot of people that have ended up sick, but you then have less staff, and it's kind of the same, issue that they're seeing in the healthcare fields right now, where if you all of a sudden have a lot less staff members, then it's a struggle to kind of keep things going. So I know that the situation is going to be different depending on each geographic location, and we unfortunately live in one of the so-called hotspots right now. That being said, we're not as bad off as like Florida or Georgia or California, but our cases are still going up, and especially in respect to the percentage of our population. I saw like a really interesting graph that was like, here's where we decided to close schools and the numbers are down here, and then all of a sudden you see the numbers shoot up, and it's just like, visually very kind of disturbing. And it says like, here's where we're deciding to say kids have to go back to school, and it's like this huge number disparity. And so it's definitely a struggle. And so making this decision, we're not making it lightly, but we're also trying to be mindful of not just our needs, but also like the needs as a whole, because if we are going to be home indefinitely, like my husband's supposed to be home indefinitely, I'm furloughed indefinitely. We are technically going to be home indefinitely at this point. It does give us the ability to do virtual at this point, and then we can kind of sort out our situation from there. But it's kind of just hard to wrap your head around it. So we're in the middle of struggling with this decision. We, like I said, have to make our decision very quickly. I think that there are a lot of things to consider, and I'm very glad that like mask wearing and all of that, it's a mandate here now. It's not even a question. Like people cannot even get into that argument anymore, because in our county, you have to wear a mask, just period, going out anywhere. So it's definitely required in the schools, but I still feel like kids just don't get social distancing, and germs spread like crazy anyways. One of them especially has brought so many things home to us guys, like so many things, like just random one-off, like what is this even, like just kid diseases that they spread when they're all stuck together real close like that. And especially like if they're not good with social distancing and they're huggers, and it just makes it worse. So even with the mask, it does make me nervous, because last year for flu season, like flu and strep went around our school like crazy. They would literally have classes of like 20 kids where like 16 of them would be out sick. Like it was that much of a ratio. So it definitely makes me nervous, because I've seen that happen 2 years in a row in our school, where like there will be just certain classes that'll just get taken down by the flu. Flu A and B were both really bad last year. And then there's been bouts of strep that have gone through and taken out like almost like half a class, if not more. So it's concerning. And this is obviously part of a longer conversation, you know, with just trying to get things open back up in general. And I know that a lot of you are viewing from outside the country, and you know, it's a completely different situation here in America than places that maybe kept things closed down a little longer and weren't as resistant to wearing masks for various reasons, and have completely lowered their case numbers. And so we're sitting here struggling with a state like Florida having 15,000 cases yesterday and opening things up. It's a struggle. It's really a struggle right now. So that's what's going on with us. And I just wanted to make this video to let you know, if you're struggling with this decision, you are not the only one. This is a very incredibly tough situation to be in as a parent. And we're doing okay being at home right now, but I'm not gonna lie, like the idea of this going on, like continuing to go on indefinitely, is stressful. It is stressful. We're enjoying our extra time together. We're getting to do a lot of activities. But it's also that fear of like, well, when does the bottom drop out? When does something totally happen with my job, totally happen with Dan's job? You know, when does that bottom fall out? And so it's definitely a stressful thought for sure. But I mean, the thing with this that I've said the whole time is like, we're not the only ones going through this. It's the whole country, essentially, the whole world going through this at one time to varying degrees. So everyone's just got to make the best decisions they can with the information at hand. So let me know down below in the comments what your school district's planning on doing. Are you going back to the classrooms in the fall? Or have they already said you're all virtual? It's tough to make a decision with a month yet to go, but here we are. And we'll see how things shake out. So thanks for watching today. I wish you the best making your decision too. And I will see you in another video very soon. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.